Do you want to do it before you start recording? I mean, all those guys want is attention. So if you're posting it to YouTube, it's
no.
just
I think I'm actually recording right now.
no.
You're watching yet another episode, belatedly, of Epic Sketch Time. My name is Mark Monlux, and with me today are Bill Morse and Ian. Ian, oh my God, how do you pronounce your last name? I always get it wrong.
Don't even try, Mark. I'll do it. It's fine. My name is Ian Castruita. You can check out my stuff at unfedartist.com. I'm an illustrator, graphic designer, and cartoonist working in Arizona.
I'm Bill Morse. I'm a freelance illustrator and cartoonist working out of Seattle, Washington, and I also do a webcomic called Rhapsodies.
And my name is Mark Monlux, and I pulled a real big boner, and I'll tell you guys exactly how to avoid that. So a few moments ago, we tried to launch our Zoom conference, and I was kind of excited that there were additional people wanting to be in. And as they came flooding in, it occurred to me that I had not taken certain precautions. I had not established a waiting room to vet these individuals, and as quickly as I was kicking them out, they were coming in. So that's what happens when you post something on Twitter with, okay, so in Zoom you have the ability to allow people to join a room before you get there, which is typically what I do because sometimes I'm late and I know Bill's waiting. So I'm going to be switching that over to where everybody goes into a waiting room and they have to wait to be admitted. I could also use a password, though I don't think that's necessary as long as they're being vetted and I look at them and enter them in. If someone's bad, I can immediately throw them out. I also hadn't set up controls for the video. Typically, I'm the only one that can start or stop the video recording. So whoever was doing that was recording the whole thing as well. I can also set it up so that I'm the only one that allows for screen share to happen and control who has screen share. But I really don't want to do that unless I have to vet it. But as you saw, someone immediately took over the screen share. And that was some of the most terrible stuff. I'm sorry, you guys. That was completely all my fault. Had I been a little bit more careful about setting it up, that wouldn't have happened. So, lesson learned.
Unfortunately, I mean, that type of stuff, you said they were recording, so there's a good chance it's going to be on the internet in some shape or fashion.
Well, I don't know if they were recording. I just know that they had the option to record.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty safe to say they were. So I just, brace yourself for the for any potential, harassment or anything that comes along with that. I mean, all these guys want to do is just troll you. So
yeah, it's possible that they were recording. It could be that I had set that particular setting so that I'm the only one available. Like right now, when you guys look at the bottom, do you see any recording settings?
No, I don't. The only
I wouldn't. I mean, I do have the button, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't rely just on Zoom to record.
Wait, I take it back. Yes, I do.
Yeah.
You do have the button down there?
Yeah, though whether it works or not is another thing altogether.
Yeah, I mean, it's safe to say that that type of person wouldn't be doing that unless they could show it off. So
yeah,
it's
also they could have just been doing it, doing a quick time screen grab just to be. Oh my God! Yeah, lesson learned. So
well, I hope it doesn't come back. Because that's the annoying thing about those things is like they get shared and they get posted and all that stuff. So, I mean, there's nothing you can do now. It's done. So,
yeah, I pulled the plug on it as quickly as I could. Once I realized I just couldn't control it. And yeah, I thought it was just one individual, but it wasn't. It was this whole string of them. So what fun things have you guys been doing today? Bill and I were in a video conference earlier for Freelance Fandango.
I have just been working. It's, tough times. So I'm really trying to get the business in shape and doing my taxes and all that stuff. So nothing too fun. Just sheltering in place, all that stuff. What happened during Freelance Fandango?
We had between 12 to 16 people coming and going. We don't record those sessions because some people want just to talk about issues that they're having privately with businesses or strategies. So it's a lot like when I used to go to SVGA meetings. Those meetings were always private anyway. So you felt very comfortable to talk about somebody saying, hey, I think I should charge X amount for a logo. And everyone knew it wasn't price fixing. It was just you were trying to get a bead on how much to charge for this type of situation. But still, you want to be tactful about it and not say, oh, what? You were also putting a bid forward for Tasty Freeze too? Yeah. Let's see. A lot of people were sharing their experiences with this whole shelter in place thing. We had folks on the East Coast, Oklahoma, but mainly Tacoma.
Yeah.
So I believe the Graphic Artists Guild is going to start promoting it more heavily to the guild members. But right now, the core of the group have our past Freelance Fandango members who, even in other states, they're coming in because they had moved out of town. So that's kind of nice. It was amazing. Even James Stowe showed up for a bit.
Which was cool.
Yes. I want to show you guys something. Bill has seen this. So this is a enamel pin design that I'm working on. It's based on It Conquered the World. And this is the closed-in design. And I'm going to go ahead and make an open-end design with the arms coming out because a friend, Stan Brown, said that they cut the edges with a laser these days, and so it doesn't really matter how weird or outlandish the outline is.
I was going to ask if you were able to confirm that or not.
I haven't confirmed it. What I'll do is I'll put forward a bid, and if it's different than what I've gotten in the past, then I'll submit another design and see if it comes down lower, or exchange, say, hey, if I provide this type of design, will the bid be lower? But here's a quick question. This particular monster, the claw, can you see this new image with the red claw?
No, just the black and white line art.
Okay, hang on, let me stop share, and I'm going to go ahead and there. Now I'm sharing the desktop. So this is what the claw normally looks like. And see this little line right here?
Mm-hmm.
So this part does kind of joint, but it's more like an elbow joint. Should I just go ahead and keep this detail because it looks simpler, or should I just remove this line entirely and have this going straight up and down?
Well, you've said in the past that you have to delete a lot of details that you would normally want there because of the shrink.
Yeah, but in this case, this particular detail's no more outlandish than these details here. It's just a matter of aesthetics.
Oh, definitely. Because as far as what would be expendable, I would have assumed that you would have dropped the bumps first. Now, I like the hinge based on the whole crustacean thing. I kind of like the what would I call it, a sleeve joint.
Yeah. Okay. So what I'm going to work on is duplicating this file, and then I'm going to take off one half of this image, and then rotate this arm out and then flip it, and then reconnect it again, and see how that looks. I think I'm going to make these horns down here all red rather than white. The monster itself is this terrible, horrible lobster red design with just blending white and red parts on the upper and lower horns. And it's just one of the most hideously designed horror movie creatures ever made. What are you guys working on?
I decided to start working on some of the art for that adventure strip I've been talking about for way too long. So this is here. I started blocking out the scripts, and because this one had too many panels in it, I've decided it was easier just to start sitting down and doing it rather than just doing the thumbnails. So here's, come on you. Here's how it is right now, and with any luck, I'll make some progress as we go along.
Bill, remind me about this story. Is this your space opera thing, or is this something
No,
else?
no, the space opera is, this is sort of a pulp style adventure strip in the style of Milton Caniff. The way I describe it to people is essentially liberal female Captain America figure. The title is The Adventures of Jane Eagle.
Oh.
And
I don't think I've ever heard you talk about it before.
Really? I thought I did. I've been sort of dragging my feet on it because I sort of was planning, because the space opera, while coming along nicely, is pretty much nothing but world building at the moment. Whereas this one, I have what is essentially the script for the first chapter. And I wanted to try it as a traditional adventure strip because I've been doing where I have a bit of a problem with the centipede overthinking comic book composition, whereas I've been doing strips daily for over 20 years. And it's been a rather fun project because I've been suddenly discovered that the design philosophy between adventure strips and humor strips are completely different. And after I realized that, I quickly discovered that the only adventure comic book artist that's really worth studying is Milton Caniff.
I guess
Can
I'm
you
looking
tell,
at Milton
who
Caniff.
is, yeah, tell us about Milton Caniff. I've never heard of him before.
Milton Caniff is the genius behind Terry and the Pirates and Steve Canyon. And his storytelling and his art and his page his composition is panel composition is absolutely amazing. I mean, you look at a lot of the other comic book famous strips. I mean, Little Orphan Annie, good story, but Harold Gray has, if you really look at those comics, has way too much empty space. Dick Tracy, the style works for Chester Gould, but I don't for the life of me see how it works for anybody else.
I'm trying to find a reference online because there was a period when the Steve Canyon comics faced some severe flack, and several newspapers dropped it because of a torture scene set in Asia. And I think, while it might have been a little bit in keeping with the 50s sensibilities, I don't think it was in keeping with the early or late 80s sensibilities. So he got dropped by a number of pictures. At least that's what I'm remembering. So I'm trying to find a reference to that online somewhere. But yeah, I enjoyed Steve Canyon comics a great deal.
Yeah, this is definitely before my time, but it's it reminds me of that Jack Lemmon movie, How to Murder Your Wife. Like he kind of has the look of Jack Lemmon on him.
Oh, apparently there was a TV show.
I thought I had heard of a TV show, or at least I think there was a serial, probably just radio, based on Terry and the Pirates.
Yeah, the television show, let's see, came out in 58 and 59 with the reruns in 60, half hour, and apparently you can get them on DVDs. They were released in 2009.
Huh.
The first 24 episodes. Now, was that Terry and the Sky Pirates or just Terry and the Pirates?
Just Terry and the Pirates.
But it was about airplanes, or am I thinking about another comic series called the Blackhawks?
Blackhawks is a DC comic book, which was about mercenary pirates. Terry and the Pirates started out as sort of general adventures in the high seas, but it became about pilots. And Steve Canyon is all about pilots. And suddenly, oh man, with that slip of the tongue, I'm reminded of the plot of Pirates of the Penzance, where the two words are mixed up, which is which means now there's another thing I want to go watch as soon as we're off.
My favorite strip, of course, when I was growing up, as far as adventure, was Dick Tracy.
Mm-hmm.
And in the school library, there was a complete multiple volumes in hardback of Dick Tracy compilations. And so I was able to go back at the beginning and just read all of them chronologically. It was a real treat. So
the one that I'm really getting into and happy to have rediscovered is Bringing Up Father.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I'd known about it for years, mostly just the basics and also the trivia that it's the old, after the Katzenmeier kids, one of the oldest running comics ever. But
it has a real Little Nemo feel to it.
Very much so. But George McManus's pen style is absolutely amazing. I mean, I probably can't show it. I mean, isn't that amazing if you can see it properly?
Yes. Yeah, I always enjoyed that comic as well.
I'm sort of wondering how he got the textures there, because I'm not completely sure if Zipatone was a thing in the 40s.
one of the gag strips that I really enjoyed growing up was there was one called Tumbleweeds.
I remember Tumbleweeds.
And then, of course, Hagar the Horrible. But I think Hagar the Horrible is one of those strips that just got sold over to one artist after the other,
I believe it got inherited by his son Chip Young, but I don't know if he still has it or not.
And I'm trying to remember if the guy who does the Lockhorns is still doing his himself or if his son is doing it. It's amazing how many of these strips got sold over or went into sort of like a farm production mode like Garfield.
Yeah, and then there's a lot of them that the syndicates just keep going just so that they keep the copyright. Popeye's one of the best examples, though. In King Features' defense, they've hired some really good talent to keep it going.
So what are you working on right now, Ian? It's not one of your strips, it's a project. Is it something you talk about?
Oh, I am working on a strip right now. I'm just looking at my script hopper. But since I don't have anything on the screen, I can show you something I did this weekend. Let's see. Oh, that's not what I want to do. So this, it's not letting me do it. Here, talk about something else, and I'll see what I can do about trying to get a better screen for you.
Is this one of the educational strips you've been wanting to do? It looks like something basic for middle school gym class.
No, it's just a one of the places that I know was looking for ideas for obstacles for their gym, and so I put together 2 ideas for them, and I sent it to them. Oh man, this is all messed up.
So Bill, what movie are you going to be watching?
Considering Scarecrow is closed at the moment, unless I figure out their mail order system, hadn't really thought about it. But I've been watching a handful of the movies that I have until at least April 15th from the library. And so at the moment I'm re-watching several anime titles and the first 2 seasons of Westworld.
I'm still on the first season of Westworld.
Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of re-watching that as well. I mean, I liked the first season of Westworld very much, but the way they were looping timelines kind of confused me. But I like shows that reward multiple viewings.
All right, I think I have something I could try to share. So, yeah, the gym that I was going to, that they were just looking for new obstacles, and I just came up with a couple ideas. This one is just basically a bunch of hanging ropes that you have to go across like monkey ropes, and the other one, if you watch like Ninja Warrior and stuff, there's a lot of these like obstacles where the holds are spinning. They're on some kind of like pivot joint or whatever, and so I thought it'd be interesting to see if somebody could build something like this. But one of my things that I'm trying to do as I've said a few times, is just try to find more opportunities for comics and illustration. But I was coming across agents and one that specialized in storyboard artists, and it seemed like it was like doing corporate work for but it was like storyboards and stuff. So a lot of I mean, if you guys have been watching Epic Sketch Time, you've seen some of the stuff Mark has been doing for his client, and I guess it's kind of along the same lines, except it's more just kind of like explaining ideas, which
it's storyboard,
is what we do. So yeah, I was giving this a shot just to kind of see if I could put together something that would actually get implemented, because it'd be really cool if the gym took these ideas. Then I could have like I could have these ideas and I could show the real world implementation, and it'd be all the better for when I start talking to companies and stuff. So that's it only took me about an hour and a half, a couple hours to put these together, and now that I kind of have an idea for it, I could probably do it even faster. But you look at this stuff and you're like, yeah, I could do this better. But I think given the fact that I wasn't getting paid for it, that I did it really fast, I think is probably a good enough thing for me to take away from this for right now until it hopefully opens up opportunities, if it does or not. So we'll see.
Not to sound remotely patronizing, but what I saw there definitely gets the job done.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. Yeah, it's tough having just like one major client, and right now the recession and hopefully not a depression or anything, but it's just sucks. I really wish I had diversified my client pool, but here I am, and and you guys know me. I've been trying to get more clients for a long time. It's just I really suck at it. So.
Well, that agent that does for the corporate storyboarding, boy, that sounds really interesting. Wouldn't mind picking your ear about that later.
Sure. I've just been doing searches because my business advisor has been telling me to look for agents. So I came across that on an internet search. I have no other information aside from their website, but I'd be happy to send that to you.
Oh, that'd be sweet. Yeah, I'm very curious.
Now, you had an agent before, right? And you no longer do?
That's right. She retired.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't that you were unhappy and you fired her or anything?
Oh, no. Her name was Susan Trimpe, and she was an artist representative.
Okay.
And she mainly worked in the advertising and publishing field, and she got me a lot of good work. She didn't get me as much work as I managed to get for myself, but several of her clients relied on her. But the last recession hit her business pretty hard. Almost once upon a time, there were as many as 6 different art reps inside Seattle, and you could tell, and you knew who had what talent were inside what bullpens. And I'm thinking that it could be that Pat Hackett is still working, but I think she's since retired. But she was one of the, there was Pat Hackett, Susan Trimpe, Coley Baker. Though after the last recession, the only person in Coley's bullpen was her husband. She might have had some others, but it was very difficult for the art reps to compete, especially with the internet coming out, and suddenly you have all these people in foreign countries willing to undercut you for anything. But one of the, I did so many great projects for her, and she and I had this wonderful working relationship that if I landed a client, like say Kia, had this thing called Kia University that was done through the Cobalt Group.
We're talking about the car manufacturer, Kia?
Yes, the car manufacturer. So they had an online university that teaches, the mechanics how to do things, and their sales reps how to do things.
Oh, okay.
And one of our artists was hired to do a bunch of stuff, but he was also hired to provide the artwork in vector. Well, he did, but it was technically vector, but it wasn't vector. It was a Photoshop vector file. It wasn't a plot point vector file like an Illustrator. And so they had to go back in and redraw his vector files as plot point vector files. This was many years ago. There was a gal in the Cobalt group called Carolyn Long, and she knew me because we had met via an illustrators group. And she says, "Oh, I know this vector artist. We should call him up and have him do some things." And they were very pleased that when I went in, that I had Flash experience and I could actually tell their animators how to go about and stage some of the animation to make certain cells work. And they said, "Hey, do you want to be one of our animators?" I said, "Oh God, no, I don't want to be an animator. You got lots of people keeping up with that. I'd rather, what I'll do though, is I'll be your library artist." And they understood what that meant. The library is a section inside Flash where, like, say the eye would be an element in the library, and you could create multiple shapes of the eyes to get multiple expressions. And you do the same thing with the mouth to get words out. And you do the same thing with props and movings. Some props would be moving props where it was an animation upon itself, and I would create it like that. And then they could just piecemeal put those together with their animators, and I wouldn't have to be stuck working with that. And I did a lot of work for them. Now, Susan had contacted the Cobalt group and got the first guy's job and had shown my work at that time, but they didn't hire me then. However, that group had nothing to do with bringing me in to do the other work. That was a different section of the Cobalt group. I didn't know that Susan had gone to the Cobalt group before. I managed to get this other project. Now, had she gotten me that project at the onset, any work I'd done for the Cobalt group, she'd get 25%. But if I have a client and I got that client first, then any work I do for that client, I didn't have to give her a percentage of. So sometimes I'd end up calling up a client would call me, and this, like say the Carnation, which is a dairy company over here that makes ice cream and milk.
Yeah.
Susan got me a gig where I did some fruit for yogurt cups. And it was just one of several different artists. There was a lettering artist doing the lettering, a designer doing the design, and another one doing the some other background elements. I was just the fruit guy. That's all I did was the fruit. So she got me that job. And when they came back later and said, "Oh, Mark, we'd like you to do this, put a bid on this other project," I said, "Great, call up Susan." And I said, "Oh," I said, "Yeah, she's my rep. You know, she's got dibs on you guys, you know, so we gotta work through her."
Is 25% pretty standard for an agent? I always thought it was 10%.
It is for illustration work. If you were for an artist representative, yes, 25% is pretty standard. However, a lot of people, their artist reps did everything for them. The artist rep did all the advertising for them. None of that came out of the artist's pocket. So, and you would have a contract with them that said not only would they just how many companies would they represent to you? How many professional books would they invest in to show your stuff out? Like, would you be in the workbook or the Society of Professional Illustration? Would you be on a website? All this stuff they would take care of. Now, Susan and I had a different agreement. I agreed that I would cover 50% or a percentage of any type of large scale advertising like books. So like, let's say I was in the workbook. If I was going to do a full page ad in the workbook, I would cover 50% of that cost and she'd cover the other 50% of the cost. And if she had me on page with other artists, I would cover a certain percentage.
Mm-hmm.
But you need to figure out when you're talking with your agent, they're going to want to say, an agent's only as good as their contacts and how much promotion they can do for you or their connections. One of the things that I brought to the table with Susan was I had nearly as many connections as she did, but on a nationwide basis. So we exchanged. I said, okay, you give me your list, I'll give you my list, because I was just as good of a promoter as she was. And that was the deal that we struck. And it worked out really well. I mean, I would say that she brought in between 10 to 15% of my business on any given year. But I'm so good at promoting myself, I always got more work in, because she'd call me up and say, hey, Mark, are you available for a project? And half the time I'd say no. And another half the time I would make, I'm also extremely good at bidding on projects. So she would often call me to say, hey, what do you think about this type of bid? It's always great to have that type of relationship. And she'd call me about, you know, hey, this particular artist wants to do this bid. I'm thinking such and so. I said, yeah, but have you considered this with that particular company? And we throw around ideas. And I was also really, I wouldn't back down on my bids at all. She tried to compromise sometimes, but I never did. Yeah.
Well, it's 5:30 and I gotta wrap up. So it's nice to actually be able to say goodbye to you guys instead of getting cut off by the video.
Yeah.
It's nice to actually have a full hour and go all the way to 5:30.
Yeah. Well, I know you wanted to take the episode longer, so don't let me keep you guys.
No, my plan was to, if we ended up going longer, fine, but I didn't. If I schedule it for 5:30, then we can always cut it short. If it goes longer, fine. But yeah, I just didn't want to look at the clock anymore. So thank you for watching yet another episode of Epic Sketch Time, which oddly enough is still only 40 minutes long. We'll try to give you a full hour next week.
All right. Take care,
I'll see you guys then.
Okay, have a good one.